The NBA Finals just wrapped up, and the OKC Thunder just defeated the Indiana Pacers in a game in which Tyrese Halliburton went down to what appears to be an Achilles injury, with him and Jason Tatum both going down. Is the East wide open? Is it time for the Pistons to take advantage? We'll talk about that today's episode, Locked On Pistons Podcast. Let's go.
You are Locked On Pistons, your daily Detroit Pistons podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's the deal? Welcome back to another episode of the Locked On Pistons podcast. Per usual, I'm your host, Ku Khahil. You can find me over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Later on the podcast, I want to tell you guys who I believe is the best player comp for Jaden Ivey and who he should be modeling his game after, and how he can really take the next step next year for the Detroit Pistons. And also later on the podcast, is it possible that Simone Fontecchio returns next year to the player we once remembered 2 years ago when the Pistons first got him? We'll discuss that as well. But wrapping this up, finals is over. OKC Thunder just defeated the Indiana Pacers. OKC Thunder, congratulations. They were the best team from the start of the regular season to the end of the whole season. They deserved the NBA championship. But in a Game 7 that everyone was looking forward to, in a Game 7 that everyone was so excited about, in a Game 7 that looked like early on it was going to be very entertaining and very close, and it actually ended up being closer. I know OKC kind of pulled away at the end. And then it became close again. But it looked like it was really going to be a back-and-forth battle until Tyrese Halliburton went down with what seems to be another Achilles tear in these playoffs. That is the third one that happened in the Eastern Conference. It's Damian Lillard, it's Jason Tatum, and it's Tyrese Halliburton. Now, crazy enough, they all wear number 0. That's just, like, crazy. But those are three great players in the Eastern Conference that have all went down with Achilles injury. And I just want to real quickly let you guys know, if you guys are wondering why my face looks so swollen and why I sound quieter today, you guys know I just got wisdom teeth surgery like 4 days ago. I didn't know if I was going to record today, but I figured you guys would want an episode, obviously, and I'm trying to push through it. So trying to be super quiet so I don't wear myself out before we get to the end here, so I apologize about that. But yeah, we got Tyrese that went down, Jason Tatum that went down, and Damian Lillard that went down. And we were having a conversation after Jason Tatum went down. And look, no one wants injuries to happen. In no way at all is anyone celebrating injuries. But the world does go on. NBA coverage does go on. Pistons coverage goes on. And just like the Pistons are going to be faced with the reality of this situation, those specific teams already, I guarantee you right now, are already discussing, okay, what's our future about to look like now? What do we do? Do we punt next season? What's going to happen? So wishing Tyrese a speedy recovery, Tatum, Lillard, all of them. No one wants to see these guys down. But the reality is they are down. And all three of those guys are in the Eastern Conference. Milwaukee has no way of getting really better. I don't see how they can get better. They have no cap space. They don't have any assets. And Giannis, even though it seems like he might be returning, it's not 100% yet. But even if he does come back, how are they surrounding him with a better team? So Milwaukee is down. Boston, without Jason Tatum, they are no longer viewed as this juggernaut. They are not viewed as this team that can't be beaten. They were beaten this year with Tatum. Now without Tatum, their best player, sounds like they might be, and they are going to be holding some sales on Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, maybe Derek White. So who knows what Boston's even going to be like next year. And now Indiana Pacers, who are the Eastern Conference representatives, now they are without their best player moving forward. And he's going to miss all of next year. So they're without Hallie, and now they got to decide, do we want to bring back Miles Turner now? Do we want to bring him back if next year's just done? Like, what do we do now? And there was already a sense before this Halliburton injury happened, there was already a sense from people outside of Indiana that the Pacers, while this was a great run, they are not some, like, crazy scary team to where you should be worried about getting through them. And a lot of people felt like this was their one run. And maybe they proved that to be not the case in a few years, but it definitely is not going to happen next year now. So now the East is just wide open to a degree that I don't think anyone could have possibly foreseen. Teams that have to be feeling pretty good right now, Cleveland or Orlando, they got to be feeling amazing. But should the Pistons now take a chance? Should the Pistons try to take advantage and make this, try to make this jump next year to be this Eastern Conference Finals team? With a wide open East, maybe even pursue a finals berth next year. Should they pursue it? My stance is, yes, you should. Let me make my stance very clear. The Detroit Pistons do not need to go out next year, or this offseason, I guess, in the next few days, or, over the next month or whatever. They don't need to give up their entire future to make a play for next year. When people discuss this, it is way too much of an extreme one way or an extreme the other way. Anyone who is in the camp of, let's take advantage next year, I guarantee you guys they are not suggesting trade every first-round pick that's available, trade every young guy that's available, and just go all in for the next 2 years and say screw the future. I don't think anyone who's in that camp believes that. That's definitely not what I believe. What I do believe is you should be definitely trying to take advantage of next year because it's wide open and you have a superstar in Cade Cunningham. You have a superstar in Cade Cunningham, and he's ready. He is ready to go on that type of run. He is a good enough player to go on that type of run. So why not? The Houston Rockets just made this move for Kevin Durant where they gave up on Jalen Green. They gave up on Jalen Green, a guy they just paid. They gave up on him. They gave up the 10th pick. They gave up Dylan Brooks to go get KD. And everyone's response will be, well, they were the second seed in the West. Yeah, but who are their leading players? Sengun, same draft class as Cade. Amen Thompson, 2 years after Cade. So, are those guys not ready either? Should they not have made that kind of jump? Because the core argument that people make is that this team's too young. Well, is Amen too young? Is Alperen Sengun too young? And is Cade too young? Cade's your best player. Cade's ready for this. Cade is a good enough player to take you to the Eastern Conference Finals if you put a team around him. And I believe that the Pistons should be aggressive. Again, I am not suggesting they should give up their entire future, but should they make moves that do make them better next year? Yeah, you can make moves that don't cripple you long term. Everyone believes that if you make a trade or if you make any type of move, that must mean you're screwing yourself over 5 years down the line. Why is that the case? The Pistons are $50+ million away from luxury tax, from the first apron. They have a load of cap space they can take in. They're years away from the second apron. They have first-round picks to give up. They don't owe anyone. They don't owe anyone a first-round pick. They have a lot of flexibility in which they can make a move that makes them better next year and still have a ton of flexibility beyond that. Whatever move that they were to make this year, this offseason, does not have to be the final move, does not have to be the move, does not have to be the move that runs them out of all their assets. They should simply just be trying to get better. And am I saying that the star going after a star route is the only route out there? No, I'm not even suggesting that. All I'm saying is that the star route should be on the table. It should be on the table. Doesn't mean it has to be the only route you go down. Doesn't mean if you don't go down the star route, it's a failure. But the star route should be on the table. The other option that should be on the table is improving your rotation, improving your roster through free agency and trades. It doesn't have to be for just a star. It could be for a better 4. It could be for a better 2 guard. It could be for a better backup 2 guard. It could be for maybe a stretch 5. Whatever it is they decide, just improve your roster. Because right now, what you're looking at in the Eastern Conference, you're looking at a Cavs team, which they are probably going to be the favorites going into next year. A Knicks team the Pistons just took to 6 games and fired their coach. An Indiana team without Hallie. A Bucks team with Giannis and nobody else. An Orlando team that did go out and go all in. Paolo was drafted a year after Cade, and they decided, you know what, he's ready. Franz is ready. Let's go. Franz was drafted in the same draft as Cade. Paolo, you're after. And they decide, you know what, those two guys are ready. Let's go. They're going to be in good position next year. And then everything else is Miami, Atlanta, Chicago, Toronto, Brooklyn, Charlotte. Like, where are the heavy hitters here? If the Pistons go out and make some improvements with their roster, why can't they make the Eastern Conference Finals run? Why can't they believe they could go to the Eastern Conference and beat that team and end up in the finals? Why can't they believe that? Why wouldn't they be able to? They have a top 12 to 15 player in his fourth year, and next year I think he will be a no-doubt top 10 player. Why, if you feel like you have that type of player, with the amount of cap flexibility you have until you reach one of the aprons, with the amount of draft capital that you have that you own yourself, why do you feel like you can't go out and make a move to upgrade? Again, no one is saying go out and make a move that cripples you long term, but make a move that helps you get better right now. Like, I'll just throw one out there. I'm not even saying they have to do, I'm just going to throw one out there. Let's say they go out and get Lauri Markkanen. Lauri Markkanen isn't just to help you this year. He would help you for the next 3-4 years. And if you go out and get Lauri Markkanen, you're not stuck. You don't have to give up 5 first-round picks for him. You don't have to give up 3 young guys for him. You still will keep your young core, majority of them. Maybe you give up one of them. Maybe you give up a pick or 2. You still would be so far away from the aprons. You still would have so many picks with you. You still would have most of your young core with you. If you were to, this is just an example to show that if they were to make that type of move, their long-term future is not cooked. They are not screwed. It is not, all in next year. If they don't win next year, they're screwed. No, it would just mean we're better for next year. We could do it next year, but we also could do it 2 years from now. We're a better team now, and we're going to be better long-term. Like, those moves exist where you can make a move that makes you better right now, that you also remain optimistic about 3, 4, 5 years down the line. It doesn't have to be one or the other. What I am completely against at this point, I am completely against the Pistons just completely running it back and not improving anything. The East is way too wide open. Cade is too good in this Eastern Conference. It's too wide open for you to just run the team back and not make any improvements. You have to make some kind of improvements. You have to change the roster somehow. It has to get better. The Pistons could be in the Eastern Conference Finals next year easily if you just make some improvements along this team. So let me know. Comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. Would you guys make a push for the Eastern Conference Finals, for the finals next year, if you're the Detroit Pistons? And if you do, what move are you looking at that could potentially do that for them? Again, let me know. Comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. Coming up, I want to tell you guys what player I think Jaden Ivey is most resembles to me, and the player he should be trying to become that would help the Pistons the most. I'll tell you guys that coming up. All right, sadly today, guys, I wasn't able to give you guys an example of me drinking OLIPOP because I can't have any soda. I can only have water right now. But OLIPOP is a new kind of soda that I've showed you guys many a times on the podcast over the last week and a half. I absolutely love it. It's much, much more healthier for you than the name brand sodas that you think of. Just 2 to 5 grams of sugar, 9 grams of prebiotic fiber in every can. OLIPOP is reimagining soda in a way that's better for your gut. Only 39 grams that goes into your Coke, or 45 grams that goes into an orange Fanta. You cut that by 20, 30 with OLIPOP. It's way healthier for you. My favorite flavor is the vintage cola. I also like the root beer. The strawberry vanilla is honestly not that bad either. I've been drinking them so much way before, obviously, my wisdom teeth surgery. But I had a whole counter full of the amount of OLIPOP I was drinking. We still have a full shelf in our fridge of OLIPOP. I absolutely love it. It helps me because I'm cutting calories, and I'm able to have a different taste that's not just water, and not feel bad about it. So OLIPOP, I love it. Get a free can of it. Just buy any 2 cans in the store, and they'll reimburse you for 1. Head to drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA to claim your free can and find OLIPOP near you. That's drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA. Get a free can of OLIPOP. For more info, visit drinkolipop.com/LockedOnNBA with OLIPOP. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We are free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Support the Substack down below in the description. I'm writing up something right now. about the Pistons starting lineup. When I drop that article, I'm gonna have the podcast that goes with the article with the film breakdowns. It's gonna be discussing the Jalen Duren and Ausar Thompson tandem, whether they can fit long term, and what to make of it. I think you guys are really gonna enjoy it. I'm working on it right now, so stay tuned for that. Hit the subscribe button down below at the Substack link if you want to be updated when that comes out. All right. So there's been a lot of talk in the Pistons community lately about what player is Jaden Ivey most like. And there's a lot of comparisons I've seen over the last few weeks. It got heated in the Pistons community like last week, where there was a lot of arguing. I was a part of it. There was a lot of arguing going on about, can Jaden Ivey be J-Dub? And the idea that was behind those statements is that he can be the number 2 on a championship team, blah, blah, blah. But when you throw the name J-Dub out, you're going to lose everybody because Jaden Ivey is nothing like J-Dub. And thinking that just because his points, rebounds, assists is identical to J-Dub's in his year 3 means he can be the same caliber of player as J-Dub is when you're going to lose everybody. Because not only do they not play similar, I should say, stylistically, they're not the same two-way player. Like, J-Dub's a two-way player. He's bigger, he's strong. Like, they play different roles. Their strengths are different. Like, you're going to lose everybody with that. So I found a comparison that I think is much more in tune with who Jaden Ivey is as a player, something I think he actually can reach, and I think it's probably his best NBA comp there is right now. It's the best one I can come up with. It's Tyrese Maxey. I think if Jaden Ivey can craft his game around Tyrese Maxey, the way Tyrese Maxey plays, and develop his game in which the way Maxey has, I think you will see a great season from Jaden Ivey as soon as next year. And you're probably asking, what do you mean by that, Ku? Well, there's a few different sections of which we're going to go through here. So we've talked a lot about Jaden Ivey's finishing, right? He's not been a very good finisher. This past year, according to Clean the Glass, he was in the 43rd percentile at the rim. That's where Jaden Ivey has to get better. Tyrese Maxey, 2 years ago, where everyone thought he had his best season. I definitely think 2 years ago was his best season when he won Most Improved Player of the Award. 2 years ago, he was in the 65th percentile at the rim. But throughout Tyrese Maxey's career, he's been up and down just like Ivey. He's been at the 59%, 58% at the rim. That's around 46th percentile, 42nd percentile. This past year, he was at the 32nd or 37th percentile. He was a worse finisher at the rim than Ivey was. Hovered around just around the same efficiency as Ivey, a 56 true shooting percentage. But what Tyrese Maxey has done that I believe Ivey can do is he's crafted his game around a similar off-ball way of playing. If you go look at Tyrese Maxey, I don't want to look at this past year. This past year, he was without Embiid a lot. If you look at Tyrese Maxey's charts 2 years ago when he was playing with Embiid, spot-ups, he was in 88th percentile. Handoffs, 78th percentile. Off-screen, 85th percentile. Transition, 83rd percentile. Cuts, 64th percentile. He's a fantastic off-ball player. He's a fantastic player that attacks tilted defenses. He's a great scorer. And the one area of his game that he is just infinitely better than Jaden Ivey with is that he does have some creation, even though he's not an isolation player. Ivey this past year was 7th percentile in isolation. Well, 2 years ago, Tyrese Maxey, when he was with Joel Embiid was healthy, he was in the 25th percentile. He's never been a great isolation player, but he's been a good pick-and-roll player, and he's been fantastic off-ball. It's the same thing with Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey, 91st percentile in spot-ups, 81st percentile in handoffs, 95th percentile in cuts. So what does Jaden Ivey have to do to become a player, to get his game towards Tyrese Maxey? And this is the area I really wanted to get to, which was Tyrese Maxey. Actually, let's start with this. Jaden Ivey, this is the part that has me have some belief in Ivey here. 36% of Jaden Ivey's shots come at the rim. He is an instant paint touch. No one can really stop him from getting the rim. He has instant rim pressure, And he's able to get to the paint basically whenever he wants. 36% of his shots coming at the rim. That's in the 89th percentile of amount of shots coming at the rim. Tyrese Maxey's in the 71st percentile. So they both get to the rim a lot. 40% of Tyrese Maxey's shots are threes. This past year for Jaden Ivey, 33% of his shots were from three. Which means Jaden Ivey takes a lot more mid-rangers than Tyrese Maxey does. Tyrese Maxey only takes 27% of his shots from mid-range. Jaden Ivey, 32% of his shots coming from mid-range. And the problem with that is Jaden Ivey is really bad from mid-range. He shoots 38% on mid-range, yet 33% of his shots are coming from mid-range. Now imagine if Jaden Ivey grew his game to, and this isn't even just like, obviously he has to improve as a finisher. But my point is, by comparing him to Tyrese Maxey, is that Tyrese Maxey hasn't even become like a fantastic finisher. Just when he gets to 63%, which is in the 65th percentile, he has a great season. He wins Most Improved Player of the Year. He's great. Jaden Ivey, if he can just get to that 63, 64% at the rim, and if he does this next step that I'm about to bring up, he should be an easy 20-plus point per game scorer on great efficiency, and that is cut out the mid-range. He needs to take much less mid-range, take more shots from three. Jaden Ivey needs to up his volume from three, keep the pressure at the rim, because he's already getting to the rim. Most of his shots come at the rim, 36% at the rim. That's great. You want him playing in the areas in which he's great at. Get to the rim, become a better finisher. If he does that, that helps. But get to the rim consistently, and then up your volume on threes. You want to know how many threes a game Tyrese Maxey takes? Took 9.2 this past year. Took 8.1 last year. Jaden Ivey needs to take, just like we talked about with Cade. Cade upped his three-point volume this year, and Cade talked with me after one of the games and discussed how he cut out some of those mid-rangers and turned them into either threes or looks at the rim. And guess what? Cade had the most efficient season of his career. If you are not a good mid-range shooter, you should not be taking a heavy dose of them at all. You need to change those mid-range looks into looks at the rim and three-pointers. And I don't have any concerns about Jaden Ivey being able to turn those looks at the rim. He already gets to the rim. Now I just need him to get a lot more of these threes up, especially if he is I don't know if he's a 40% three-point shooter. I don't know if I believe that. I do think he can be around a 38% three-point shooter next year. And if he can be that, you want him shooting 7 threes a game, 8 threes. Like, I want him, all of his shots, mostly I want coming from the rim and threes. Him and Tyrese Maxey play similar play styles. They're both off-ball players. They feast on off-ball gravity. Areas in which Tyrese Maxey is so much better than Jaden Ivey really just all come from between the ears and being able to finish at the rim. You want to know why Tyrese Maxey is so much better than Jaden Ivey in the pick and roll? Because Tyrese Maxey is not settling in the pick and roll for mid-rangers, and he's a much better finisher. Tyrese Maxey is getting to the paint, and he's either drawing a free throw or finishing at the basket. He's coming off a screen, taking the three. If Jaden Ivey can get better between the ears at not settling for these mid-rangers, not settling for these floaters in which he's just not very efficient at all, and just turn all of those either to rim looks or beyond the arc threes, I think he will be much more efficient next year. I think he can be a 20-plus point per game scorer on great efficiency. If you go through the numbers, him and Tyrese Maxey really are similar basketball players. They are very similar. Obviously, Ivey is a little bit bigger than Tyrese, but they play within the same style. You saw this past year when Tyrese was asked to be this main ball handler, be the ISO scorer or whatever, his efficiency shot down. Because he's not that on-ball guy type like that. Neither is Ivey. Ivey is a great off-ball scorer that needs to be able to run some weak side pick and roll and finish at the basket. If he could finish at the basket, he should be way better in transition than he is. This past year, Ivey was in the 17th percentile in transition. That's simply because he can't finish at the rim right now. Tyrese Maxey, 83rd percentile. They're both quick as ever. They both can get to the basket whenever they want. They both love running in transition. Ivey loves running in transition. He absolutely does. It's his second most used play type. He just has to finish there. And I'm not going to lie to you, seeing how often, looking at the numbers and seeing how much Ivey gets to the basket makes me feel even better. Like when I looked at I knew he got to the basket a lot. When you look at the numbers, it gives me more belief in him being able to be this, this high volume scorer on good efficiency. You have to believe, I guess you don't have to believe, but for a guy that gets to the basket as often as he does, as easily as he does, eventually he has to finish better at some point, right? Like he has the hard part down. And again, he doesn't have to become. The reason why I love the Maxey comparison is that Maxey's never become this Giannis finisher or whatever. Maxey has just shot, what would I say, 3-4% better than him? 4% goes a long way. Just get 4% higher around Maxey. That's not fantastic, but take the right shots, improve the finishing a little bit, and combine the two, you will see a similar efficiency jump as you saw from Cade this year. And I think that taking better shots will help him in between the ears. He'll become a smarter basketball player. And he should be really good for the Pistons. So that's the comp I really like. Neither of them are good defenders. Neither of them are really good playmakers. But they're great off-ball scorers. Great off-ball scorers that love to run. They're both cat quick, fast as hell. Except one is just a much better finisher and takes better shots. Or takes more efficient shots. Ivey's younger. He'll get there. Hopefully. That's the hope. So let me know. Comment section down below. Or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. Do you guys like this comparison between Ivey and Tyrese Maxey? And how can he get there? Let me know. Comment section down below. Or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. Coming up. Can Simone Fontecchio, can the Pistons trust him to return to form next year and just bring him back as the backup 4? I'll give you guys my answer coming up. Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. Again, go to monarchmoney.com, use code LOCKEDONNBA, and you'll get 50% off your first year. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. DoorDash, it was killing me. Now I budget smarter and I can save more at monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year with Monarch Money. So I want to thank you guys again for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. We're free and available on all your podcast platforms. If you haven't already, head to the YouTube channel at Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe button or leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. That's another great way to support the podcast. Simone Fontecchio, should the Pistons have any trust that they can just return him next year, come back with him next year, and he can be the backup 4, he can play more like the player that the Pistons saw when they traded for him the back end of 2 years ago instead of the player they saw this past year? My answer is absolutely not. I don't have any trust in this, and there's a few reasons why. Not only do I not have much trust in him being able to turn it around, the Pistons are, like we mentioned in the first segment, with the East being so wide open and Cade being ready, they can't take that kind of risk. Because if he were to not return to that form, I mean, they'd be just as screwed this year as they were last year with the whole 4 position. The 4 position has been their weakest spot. They don't have anyone else that can really play the 4. There are actual 4. That's why it was such a big deal that they got Tobias and why he was so good for them. Because he was their first 4, real 4, in today's age they had in years. So if you just come back with Simone, that's way too risky for me. Way too risky. But there's a few other reasons why. I don't really have any trust that he's going to come back this way anyways. Simone is 29 years old, guys. He'd only been in the league 3 years, but he's 29. He turns 30 this year. He is who he is. That's one. Two, you go throughout his career, it really was just that 15-game stretch where he was going crazy for the Pistons. Outside of that, he hasn't ever looked like that. Those 16 games for the Pistons, he averaged 15 points a game while shooting around 43% from deep on high volume, 6.3 attempts a game. He was fantastic during that stretch, no doubt. He was great. But his first year in Utah, 33% from deep. He shot 36% from the field, 43% on twos. This past year with Detroit, 33% from three, 40% from the field. My goodness, 50% on twos. I mean, this is what they saw last year from Simone Fontecchio. Has a much larger size of sample size of what he actually is. What people want, what I expected him to be, what a lot of Pistons fans expected him to be, is the outlier here. It's 16 games. We have 75 games plus 52 games of him not being that player. Now, am I ruling it completely impossible that he can become that player again? I won't rule it impossible, but I would say it's pretty unlikely. He's old, not old. He's getting older. He's not young. We have an not overwhelming, I won't say overwhelming, but a large sample size that tells us, no, he isn't that guy. And the Pistons are not in a position. They're not at that point of their team building now where they just take risk on guys like that. It's like, oh, yeah, we'll see if he's good. If he's not, whatever. Like 2 years ago, sure, you do that. 3 years ago, sure, you do that. But this year, this upcoming year, no, you can't. You just can't do it. And the forward position, like I mentioned earlier, is just too important right now for the Pistons. They need an actual four. They need two good fours on their basketball team. They can't just have Tobias and try to play an undersized Ron and Asar at the four. And neither of those guys would have had a chance doing what Tobias did against Cat. That's why every time Tobias left the floor, Cat dominated. That's why 10 of Cat's 13 threes he made in the series came against Durant when Tobias was off the floor. Because they don't have another actual four on their roster. They have to address that. They just have to. They just have to do it. And I can't trust Simone. Because one, I don't even really think Simone is a four, to be honest. I don't think he is a four. But even if you want to say he is, he hasn't put up enough sample for you to believe that he can be good. He's put up way more of a sample that tells you he can't be good. So, hopefully, if he gets traded this off season, hopefully for the best of him, he goes on to that next place and he plays much better and he looks like that guy. Great for him. Hopefully that does happen. Rooting for the best. But the Pistons are not in a position where they can take that risk. The risk reward doesn't pan out. Doesn't make sense. So I don't think you can come back next season with Simone Fontecchio. I don't think he'll be on the roster past next month. So let me know, comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. Do you guys believe in Simone to come back next year? Do you guys think his season or his time with the Pistons is done? Where do you guys stand? Comment section down below or over on Twitter at Ku Khahil. I want to thank you guys for making Locked On Pistons your first listen of every single day. Free and available on all your podcast platforms. I apologize if I didn't sound the best today. Like I said, I'm fighting through. I'm trying to get an episode out. Despite, my face is really killing me right now. So I hope it was good enough for you guys. Appreciate all of you guys. Appreciate all the support. Appreciate all the everydayers every single day who tuned in to Locked On Pistons. Hit that subscribe on the YouTube channel. Leave us a 5-star review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to this on. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay safe out there. And until next time, peace out, everybody.